Right on task. So first things first, we're going to pop over here and have a look at what's going on in the news, just to ensure that we don't have any high impact news that we're coming directly into. And we can see there really isn't any news on the board here. We do have this red report, which is the G7 meetings, but these are all day events, and it doesn't hold the same impact as a specified report with a specific watched number that's coming out at a specific time. So, when we have a red report that's on, for example, jobs, that's going to hold much more impact than an all-day meeting like this. So, for those red reports that are on a specific item, we stay out of the market for that time period, a couple minutes before, 5 or so minutes after, let the markets return to normal. Today, unless there's, you obviously want to keep your finger on the pulse. I mean, if there's something that comes out of this that's just earth-shattering, that was totally out of left field, we'll see it on our charts over here. We'll see things happening with volatility. But at that point, you would take your trade entry with a little bit of a grain of salt and see what's actually going on before you just willingly jump into something. But the long and short of that, much longer explanation than it was needed, is that when you've got an all-day event like this, you don't have to worry about staying out of the market. Just be aware that news headlines and blurbs and blips and tweets and things can occur, and that can cause potential market movement. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and pop over here. We'll have a look at the currency strength, see what's moving. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot really that's got our attention this morning. The currencies that are open right now, the markets that are actually open and being actively traded, are all trading together. So they're in a pretty tight range here. And there's really not even anything that really stands out from from an aspect of just simply looking at something that's way below its typical range. I mean, pound CAD, certainly has my attention. It's only moved 50 pips for the day. Its typical range is into that 90 to 100. Over the last week, though, it's been significantly lower. It hasn't been really going much above 70. 65, 70 pips. And we're seeing that kind of across the board here. This week has been a fairly tight range for many of these currencies that actually typically have kind of a wider level of movement. So looking at something like this, we're just starting off the new session. It's fully underway. We don't see any real divergence here from any of these currencies that are actively being traded right now. So I'm going to pass on it. There's nothing that's standing out as a long or a short that would make me desire to take that risk to get in. By the way, yesterday I did put a trade on, and it ended up being a full loss, which doesn't happen very often. But we had a trade on yet. There it goes. Had a trade on yesterday on the U.S. CAD, looking. Come on. What is going on? Why did that snap back? There we go. We had a trade on over here on the US versus the CAD, looking at this nice downward action, watching for a breakout at the bottom of this box. We had confirmation of our volume detail, so confirmed directionality here. Continued selling was being favored. Touched us in and then just came right back against us. So ultimately, that trade was a full loss. A pip or two in my favor, but I call that one a full loss. So that one did not work out for us. So that was one that we ended up, doing everything right, and the market just changed direction. That's going to happen. That's part of trading. That's one of the reasons that we take limited risk when we trade. We don't, risk it all on every single trade that we're going after. So anyway, for today, I'm passing. I don't have anything that's standing out to me. There's nothing that's got a definitive, one currency isn't being more heavily bought or sold than the others that gives me that, gives my brain just, the attention, something that doesn't draw. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't talk today. There's nothing that really draws my attention to a specific currency pairing. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to pass on it today. I'm not going to take any breakout trade as the session gets started. Obviously, you can utilize the currency strength index here as you're watching the market, intraday, and seeing maybe as time goes on if there is a definitive direction to one of these that we can capitalize on. But as far as the breakout trade at the beginning of the session, I don't have anything that's really standing out to me that I'd be comfortable taking. So I'm going to pass on that for right now. I'll come back in a bit. We'll talk about what's going on in the Forex market.